Mirrors and Dreams, Book 2 of the Unseen Scar series, written and narrated by C.R. Saxon. Chapter 17. The session went longer than Elby expected. Granted, it was his fault. Talking about those things, it was hard, much harder than he expected. Little legs moved as fast as they were able toward the older student's lab. The one he was supposed to use, he couldn't. He couldn't stand looking at it, the idea of walking inside. Shivering, he pushed the thought aside and finished his trip down the hall and into the study area. Yu was already there, waiting and looking annoyed. She rubbed and massaged her hands, but her face brightened when he dashed up to her. "Ah, sorry I'm late, Yu." Elby grabbed 2 screens from his bag. Master Lucé went overtime. Yu's adorable smile grew bigger. Pink eyes focused hard on him, as if he'd disappear if she didn't. "That's okay. I'm happy you're working hard." Blood flushed his cheeks. I'm glad Yu doesn't remember. She suffered enough. What he'd give to remove those memories from his own mind. Putting his bag down, Elby climbed upon the stool next to her. "Thank you. I'll keep working, and I'll let you know if I'm late again." "It's fine. You're volunteering to help me when you don't have to, and you're working around my sessions with healers Herard and Nami. Besides, I'll always wait for you." Those pink eyes glowed, making her sweet smile even more dazzling, but they never wavered from him. "Don't stop seeing Master Lucé, okay?" Sheepishly he nodded, but his mismatched eyes focused on his hands. His nails were back. No scars. There should be. They should be mangled, and his island sister should be dead. We both should have died. Elby shook his head to stop those thoughts. They hadn't died. For some reason, this didn't feel right. Like, everything since that day was just a dream. It wasn't real. Somewhere deep inside, he knew it wasn't. But neither was he waking up. "Elby? Oh, how much longer till you get full use back?" The healers made him wait weeks, with regular treatment and therapy. It was overkill, but Yu was hurt so much worse. With weekly healing sessions, when she looked at her hands, Yu's words stopped. That forced focus appeared again. "I'll have full dexterity and control by the end of block." They're being extra cautious with her, too. But then, what was a tinkerer without hands? Not being able to build what he imagined? That was a torture he didn't want to experience, or see his sister suffer through. "Good. It'll be fun doing a final project with you." "I'm sorry. You're catching up on work, too. The Master Ferdinand's the only other tinkerer." Pink eyes looked away uncertainly. Neither did she speak again until they latched onto him. Chemicals caused the explosion. But what happened after that? Elby's lungs constricted. "Stop asking about this. You don't want to know." Forcing a smile, he turned his attention to the calibrator and random materials. Lots of fire. "Please tell me." Yu took the younger boy's shoulders, making them both flinch, and forced him to look at her. "I don't like not knowing." The longer he hesitated, the tighter her grip became, and the deeper the burning ice sunk through his skin. "Stop. You'll hurt your hands." A beam fell, knocking you out. Fire took hold. Then Master Ferdinan was there. I don't know how, but he lifted the beam and grabbed you. He picked me up, carried us through the building to a room with windows, and jumped out. Please don't ask any more. Wow, Master Ferdinand's always been amazing, but he was strong enough to do all that? Releasing Elby's shoulders and seeing his distress, Yu changed topics, lifting the heavy mood. "Before you came, the screwdriver's handle broke." Relief sighed out of him, and a true smile shaped Elby's lips. He took the tool from her and jumped down. "Read over the assignment till I get back?" "And the next 2 assignments." Yu smirked, gaze not wavering. "It doesn't take that long." "Unless the printer's out of material." Yu nodded and shooed him away. That was all the encouragement he needed. Though she didn't care for waiting on the printer, his sister knew how much he loved it. While Yu found it boring, it was fascinating to him. Like the best toy. The printer was in the next room over. More accurately, the printers. Most were new, but a couple older models were kept for educational purposes. It was the second oldest he loved the most. Inserting the back end of the screwdriver into one of the many slots, Elby set the parameters and tossed the broken handle into the bin to be melted down and reused. Then he watched. It wasn't fast, but watching it run row after row of the new handle was oddly hypnotic. Every part of him watched. There was no fire, no pain, no time. Back and forth, back and forth. It was relaxing. Then his imagination took over. A question rose in his mind. What else can I print? Elby looked longingly at the half-finished job. Mismatched eyes opened wide and a grin plastered itself on his face. What else can I print? Ha ha! Wake up! John shook his ally as Master Ludwig approached, but the skeleton wasn't stirring. This was the second time in 30 minutes. What's wrong with him? Is everything all right, John Dinta? Master Ludwig leaned in, speaking softly. I'm not sure. He's never slept in class before, John whispered, though he's fallen asleep while teaching recently. Nothing happened when Ludwig shook Ferdinan. A nod told John to grab the skeleton's things and follow. Ludwig lifted and carried the unconscious boy to a small clinic on the other end of the building. Watching the instructor carry those long jumble of bones was odd. Both he and Ferdinan were half a head taller than the man, making carrying the gent awkward. In the clinic was a 12th-year student healer who jumped out of his skin when he saw the skeleton brought in. I apologize, Healer Umer, but he needs a bed. Sir, you know I can't be here if he is. Yes, I know. Ludwig laid his student on the cot. John Dinta, you'll stay with your ally? Yes, sir. John studied the gent. It felt less like Ferdinan was sleeping, and more like he was sedated. I can't help others if this room is taken over. Umer edged toward the door, looking paler than before. I'll arrange for a transport. He won't be here long. Till then, John can give you whatever you need. Frowning, Healer Umer nodded. Yes, sir. Please don't wake up here. John frowned, worried. His ally coming to in a clinic? The chaos. Healer Umer, do you have a medical disc? Huh? Umer didn't take his eyes off Ferdinan. Oh, those silver discs. Why would we keep those? John sighed, but it was a legitimate question. Then an important thought hit. Master Ludwig is calling a transport. Taking the gent to his room would make it harder for John to keep an eye on him. His lab. I'll take him there. After a night of collecting corrections, Oya needed a break. Ferdinan would be more fun to play with, but this was enjoyable in its own right. Run! Run faster! Oya called to the pathetic figure, staggering desperately to keep up. It had taken egging him while Marcus was at a session to get Elu to play. If the boy's face was any brighter red, he'd pass out. Even her entourage of orbs was having trouble keeping up. 1 more mile it is. Laughing loudly, Oya sped up. An older boy stepped into her path, smirking, blue-black eyes sparkling. Instead of slowing, she activated the cuffs and flew at Zhao. That smirk faded. By the time he was running, he looked truly terrified. You can't escape! Zhao screamed when his feet lifted from the ground, and intensified when she flew him high above open waters. Take me back, I'm too heavy for you! Bah, don't worry, enjoy the flight. Speeding up, Oya made her way to the garden island her dear friend told her about. Zhao wasn't happy, so she brought him down gently instead of seeing how far he'd skid, but the boy still fell over. Are you insane? That was terrifying! A pale, shaky Zhao rolled over, hugging the ground. He. Once he caught his breath, she continued. You looked like you wanted to play. I better work on my expressions. Coming to his knees, Zhao brushed away sand. Oh? Flopping down to her seat, Oya propped her elbows on her knees, rested her head on closed fists, and leaned forward. Then what did you want? Have you seen Ferdinan? Ate breakfast with him this morning, she grinned. Ah, is he doing well? His skin's healed. That's good. Zhao scrunched his face in thought. As for the rest of him, you should figure that out on your own. Oya stood and turned to skip away. Not about to let a source of information escape so easily, Zhao grabbed her arm. What do you mean? I can things tell you any number of, but you can't do anything until you find out for yourself. Oya tried, still jumbling the words of her new language. I don't understand. What are you saying? You will. Breaking his grip, she seized his waist and catapulted them both toward the nearest clump of boats. Laughter and aerial acrobatics interrupted every question he attempted, until they landed. Your little obsession. Yes? Zhao listened intently, forcing his heart back down his throat. To know how he's doing, understand him, start with the answers you seek. What's she talking about? And why not give him a straight answer instead of being obnoxiously mysterious? Wait, is she confirming what I'm trying to prove? I know... Know what? Finding proof. He wanted to prove the anonymous scientist was Ferdinan. He already knew Ferdinan developed the medicine and fixed the leftover damage. No one else could, or would make something like that. But what did Oya mean? Where do I look for proof? Or does evidence not matter? Zhao? Oya interrupted the lead's thoughts. Yes? Do diamonds shatter? Of course they do. Easier than you'd think. Thank you. I've been wondering. A wicked smirk filled his view. Then she wasn't there. It was rude, but Elby couldn't wait for his session with Master Lucé to end. The sessions were important, but he finally knew what he wanted to do for his final project, and his research confirmed it was possible. Waving goodbye, he made his way to Master Ferdinand's lab. Initial schematics were drawn up and ready for inspection. There were bound to be a number of problems and errors, but his mentor would help with those. The young tinkerer couldn't wait. I hope he likes it. Down the hill and into the building Elby flew, stopping only to trigger the chime. He waited with bated breath for Ferdinand to open it, but it remained closed. Using the handle for leverage, he jumped to peek through the door's window. But it turned. What? Ferdinand wasn't in the habit of leaving his door unlocked. Cautiously, Elby edged his way inside. There he was, bent over a table. Various items lay scattered around his head. Random items. Did he find more of his old projects to help me? The thought made Elby smile. Master Ferdinand, The young tinker approached, but his mentor didn't flinch. Master Ferdinan? Reaching up, he tugged on the skeleton's sleeve, but no reaction. This is wrong. He tugged harder, nearly pulling Ferdinan off the stool. Huh? What? Blinking, Ferdinan looked around, dazed. Elby? I'm so sorry. I didn't hear you come in. Are you okay? I'm fine. I didn't sleep well last night. Painting on a smile, Ferdinan motioned for Elby to take a seat. I found some of my earlier projects. Thank you, Elby bounced in his chair, but I know what I want to do. Really? Crystal blue eyes drooped. What have you come up with? Elby pulled out the screen with his blueprints. I was fixing a tool when the idea came to me. We can print anything as long as we put in the materials and the machine is calibrated to handle them. Sliding the screen for his mentor to see, his heart hit the floor. Ferdinand was slumped over, completely out. Why? Rapid breaths nearly wrung tears from him. He was so excited. Finally, he knew what he wanted, and his mentor fell asleep. What did I do wrong? I thought it was a good idea. Elby shook his head and reminded himself Ferdinand was sleeping when he walked in. But his heart still twisted painfully. Putting the screen away, mismatched eyes focused on his hands. Why did this keep happening? What do I do? What can I do? Not only was Elby a child, but his mentor was terrified of healers. There was only one choice he could think of. Elby tapped on John's open door. Can I talk to you? Sure. Chocolate brown eyes widened. You aren't here for your session. Yes. Elby's throat tightened, making that word a squeak. Elby? John approached. I'm sorry. Kneeling, the thinker reached out. What happened? He keeps falling asleep. A deep frown marred Elby's young face. I woke him up once, but... A sigh left the growing giant. I'm sorry, I thought he canceled your session. Do your schoolwork. I'll take care of my ally. Nodding, Elby hesitated, dropping his head. This is my fault, isn't it? Is teaching me making him sick? That question knocked John backwards. No, why would you think that? He was never sick enough to miss sessions with Yu. She even finished early, but since I've been his apprentice. No. The firmness of that word prompted Elby to look up. The timing for you, it's horrendous. Elby's lip quivered, but he bit it, urging his voice to come out steady. What do you mean? I don't know what was happening when you started your apprenticeship, but he's had more on his plate than any one person should. Tears welled up in Elby's mismatched eyes. I've been so demanding. No. Reaching forward, John hugged the boy. Teaching you is one of the things he enjoys. Really? A barrage of needles stung through Elby's skin. Please let go. Holding the boy to arm's length, John faced him full on. He complains about everything, but never about teaching you, helping you learn. Never. His sessions with you are the few times I see him look happy. This isn't your fault. If anything, you've helped him get this far. Lip quivering, Elby dried his face as best he could, relieved when the needles vanished. Are you sure? It's the one thing I'm certain about.